let me take a drink real quick.
Yeah. It's very important to stay hydrated with coffee.
Yeah, coffee hydrates you.
Coffee, indeed.
So, hey, welcome. I'm going to do my best to not tap the table. Here with Tim Powers, also Joe Monkey, as some of you know him. Well, if you're watching this, you all know him as Joe Monkey. So, this was our first time playing Candela. Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
It was good. Yeah, I had a great time. It was a lot different than what I was expecting, especially with like how the character sheets work. It's a lot different than D&D or anything I've ever played, especially with like having a certain amount of moves. It makes you think about each action that your character takes and kind of how to play them. So I enjoyed it a lot, though.
It was a lot of fun. I think at first we were really like trying to figure it out because my son and I, Darren, we played like a small session, like just him and I, to try and figure it out, and like realizing, oh, those circles are your moves. It's like, okay, I only have so many things I can do. Mm-hmm. And so then I got to remember, like, I've told you guys make such and such moves, and I got to remember, okay, this guy doesn't have these moves, he has something else. And so then that's where it all ended up with the, what do you got over there?
Yeah,
because exactly. I couldn't remember. Exactly. And so then it's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna be like, what do you have left?
Yeah, because especially with like D&D and stuff, you have everything that you can do.
Unlimited moves.
Unlimited moves, and so and you might be better in something and worse in other things, but you can still at least make that move. So it doesn't really dawn on you like, okay, I can only investigate this room 2 times before I'm out of moves. So and it makes you. I guess use your resources differently than you would inside of D&D.
Oh, very much so. And at first I was like, oh, it's just a role-playing game, but it's like whenever you start realizing like that side of the strategy, mm-hmm. it's a totally different game, and it makes it fun in its own unique way.
Oh yeah.
And especially like the fact that it's like a horror thriller game.
Yeah.
And so that made it interesting in its own, and like we're going to get into your character very quickly here because, mm-hmm. like, obviously that's what we're here to talk about. You're the first person to ever play a Novelist because it's a homebrewed class. And basically the idea came from, like, oh, well, there's not a bard for this. And mm-hmm. I started thinking of, like, how cool it would be for, like, there to be a musician. And it's like, okay, well, what would be, like, in the same vein that I could do but have it set up very much like the rest of Candela, where there's this vein, but then there's 2 different styles to that vein. And so, okay, well, you'd call it a creative. You have your musician, but then what else could you do? Oh, you could do a novelist. And so, like, I viewed your character very much like Edgar Allan Poe, like throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like that was the vein that you were going for, but that's very much how it felt throughout the whole game.
Yeah. When I was thinking about how different ways I could play, a novelist or the class, there was a couple of ideas that I was kind of rolling around with. One of them was kind of this type of person who's stuck in their book all the time, writing different ideas down, kind of like the crazed mind of like, everything that he sees around him kind of goes into his work. So that was one idea I had. And another idea that I had was more of the kind of Demi-Downer, kind of like he does this and he enjoys it, but you can't tell that by the way he carries himself. It's kind of just like the things that he does is more of not a necessity, but something maybe that is kind of like he has these experiences with people or different occurrences in his life that he can't help but write it down because it's just there in his mind.
Right.
It's kind of like whenever you experience something and you kind of want to remember it, you write it down and might as well make a book out of it type thing, So
that's a really good point. That's actually like how some of like the books that I have written have kind of like come around. So I feel that very much. Mm-hmm. There was times where I was like like whenever we hit the part where I was playing your publicist, and I was like, "You haven't written a book in 2 years." It's been like, as of right now, it's been 2 years since I published a book, and so like that really hit home. I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
I felt that." And so like it was really cool to like watch you play the character and everything. What did you love about playing a novelist?
Ooh. I mean, there were, again, it was my first time playing a Candela, so I didn't really have any other type of way to go about the character other than what I would make of it. I didn't have any resources. I didn't do any research before of like how Candela is played. Kind of wanted to go into it blind and kind of just make it my own type thing. So with that in mind, I was like, kind of, wanted to I don't even remember what the question was. I totally just lost my train of thought.
What did you love about it?
No, what I love about it. Okay. Yeah.
This is what it's like to like film after working all day.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so going into it blindly, there wasn't really anything to reference. But the thing I loved about it the most was probably first of all, making the character my own. But secondly, being able to play it how, I guess the same thing, like playing it how I wanted to. And like inside my character, like all of my points went into being the cunning attribute, because I couldn't really see my character as a person who would be like physical, so I couldn't really put it inside the top section. And then the bottom section was more intelligent, which I also didn't see my character as. He was more of a do things out of necessity type of person. So he's really good at, as a novelist, and so, I mean, Joe Monkey's a popular novelist, so he's good at he's had a lot of different, could have articles written about him, and he was.
It was so much fun, like dropping the whole "You're Joe Monkey" on you, like for the first 2 sessions. There really wasn't room for that for the last 2, and so like I just had so much fun doing that to you.
Yeah, I mean, and it was funny to try and be like, oh, I didn't realize that I was this big type of thing, and then try to play into it, and try to keep my head down. But yeah, putting everything into cunning, being able to read people, spot lies, and kind of just read people, like gathering motives and reading people's body language was kind of how I wanted to play the character, since we already had our big to put, lack of a better term, gorillas to be in the front, kind of wanted to have somebody that's
detectives
so kind of have that person that isn't very talkative and doesn't do that front forward that a detective would do, but somebody who can spot, if maybe on a different level than a detective could, spot like the lies or the fidgeting or the body language type thing. And that's kind of how I played it, or tried to play it anyways.
Well, I think you did an amazing job. It was fun to watch all of you guys work through this, again, having like this being our first time really playing it, and work through that, and then also like do the role playing part. And that was really cool. Like whenever we did session 0 and you're like, I'm loading up all of cunning, and I was like, okay, well that kind of makes sense the way a novelist is set up, but it's going to be really interesting because whenever I was designing the class, I was thinking, okay, these are probably the only points somebody's going to take is in cunning is these ones that I'm giving them. They're going to load everything. Like they're going to put them in, maybe a little bit intuition because, they're scholarly or whatever, or maybe they act more than anything. And so like they load up the nerve or whatever, where you've got your control, your focus, and your sway.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, he's going all in on this, which I thought was amazing, especially like whenever you would do your hides and stuff like that, because they worked so well for your character, and it made sense. And that's the cool thing about scars too, is like it, first off, it really affects the role play because, okay, you're shifting your actions now because of this scar, and because you got to shift your actions, you're playing your character a little bit differently. But like that also reflects real life. Like whenever we're affected by something, how are you going to like? How would that really affect you? Like you'd be more cautious. You would act quicker instead of like maybe being more hesitant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Albert T took his scar in, I guess that was session 2.
Spoilers. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, if you haven't watched session 2 by now, because like the whole idea about this is it's going to come out after the last 2 sessions. So if you're watching this first, definitely go back and watch everything else because there are more spoilers. But he started to act a little bit different for the last 2, and so I thought that was a great way to do things. And even like with Carver, because Carver wouldn't have done what he did in the last session at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way
Right.
that's the same Carver that we saw at the end.
Right.
And so I thought that was really cool. And even with like Monkey, like
Mm-hmm.
the huge bombshell that gets dropped on you at the end of session 3,
Mm-hmm.
like that's huge because your whole life is now like a mess. And I had so many different ideas going into that, like how we were going to play up like she was a part of Candela and everything else. But that was like my game plan probably from the end of session 1.
Yeah.
Was she was going to be a part of Candela. The whole thing with Jade Palace wasn't going to be real. And like, how did that affect you? Like whenever that got dropped in your lap, like what was your like initial thoughts?
Oh man. Well, as it's very, very clear inside the next session, is I didn't trust it because from the information that I was getting outside of my character and the information I was getting inside of my character, it was very hard for me to be able to just be like, okay, these two are just coincidental. Like, come on,
Yeah.
like there's no way. Especially whenever inside of the beginning of, I think it was session 4, when I walked out of the Jade Palace,
Yeah.
and saw what was happening out there, and I was like, okay, this happens, and I find the person I've been looking for, and that's like at the same time I'm like, no, there's no way, like, that could actually be the case. So it was very hard to trust that, and then towards the end of, I think it was session 4 or session 5 or whatever that is in there,
They're technically the same session, but just
split apart.
yeah.
Okay, so somewhere in there.
It's like how Harry Potter did like Deathly Hallows,
Oh.
like Deathly Hallows 1 and 2.
This is session 4, part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so like somewhere inside that last session when we were playing, whenever we were inside of the forest, I'm trying not to spoil anything. I don't know if that's even a thing or not, but you said it's supposed to be afterwards, but
Yeah.
it just still feels bad, But
They should feel bad.
yeah. So whenever we were, I asked a question to the main villain of like, is this just a coincidence? It was like, okay, now I can actually kind of start thinking more clearly as Joe Monkey, because until then Joe Monkey was just in his head, was just like everything was stopping, like, because it was like, okay, this person I've been looking for 2 years now or however long, it's been out of my life for a long time, it's just now just here, and so it's like, okay, is this a coincidence? And he put so much time into trying to find her that, I mean, his work was affected. Like, he hadn't written a book in 2 years, like we talked about, and he's basically bare bones, like putting all of his resource into trying to find this person that he loved, but he didn't realize how much of a responsibility it was until she was already gone, or how much he loved her until that was taken from him.
And that was like a really cool thing to do in session 2, where you were like staring out the window and she was like behind you saying she was headed out for the day. Like, that whole scene was just like the coolest. Because it really, really portrayed that. And obviously, like, as a GM, you gotta like set it up. But the way I view a GM, I do my best to not influence things. So like in that case, I very much was, okay, here's the scene in the moment. What you do with it on your end is going to affect how I do it. And so like some of that I do A, B, and C, and then some of it's just right off the cuff.
Right.
And so that one was very much right off the cuff. And like even in the last session, I rolled to see who, like, well, I guess session like 4 part 1, where I rolled to see who you were going to run into first, and it just happened to be who you ran into. And so like we made the joke of like, can you see her, and then it actually came true, which was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, because he's been hallucinating about that person since he lost, her. And it's just kind of like, how are you here right now? Like, I don't understand. And I try, I tried my best throughout all the sessions to try to make it to where this really affected him, even if it wasn't like so much of a scar of like that. But it was to the point of like hallucinating her, and I tried to put that inside the watch ticking.
So that was such a great
trying to make it to where you can tell that this is mentally just like obstructing his life, and that if it doesn't get fixed soon, he's going into an asylum or something. He's going into somewhere like a dark place that he's never going to come out of.
And we were definitely on the cusp of that, and I think had we played the last 2 sessions, like session 3 and 4, 1 and 2 of 4, we could have gotten there instead of doing what we did. But I wanted the opportunity, and obviously like we rolled like for like your view of it all or whatever,
right?
But like you being like, because you're very much making decisions as much as I'm making decisions, you could have taken it down a totally different path, and we could have gotten there,
right?
Regardless of what I was trying to set up. I wanted to set up the opportunity for a happy ending, but you didn't have to take it.
You're right. And I mean, that's kind of, again, why I like role-playing in general. Is just you get to create the story, and the GM or DM kind of guides you through this, but ultimately it's up to you whether what you're gonna get,
Right.
And I think one of the best examples of that was like the beginning of session 3, whenever you started us off on the train, and it's been 9 weeks since we were, they were previously seen session 2. It's 9 weeks, and I tried to portray like, okay, time has passed, and it's kind of just a lifestyle now of going and getting these artifacts. So Joe isn't pouting like, oh, I can't believe we're going here anymore. He's like, okay, let's get this done so I can actually get back to what I was trying to do in the first place, So it kind of like the urgency of like, he's now making decisions. He's now actually doing things instead of just sitting in the back hoping that all of this goes away soon,
And I mean, you saved a member of the group.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
That was pretty crazy.
And I got a gun. So, what can I say?
Joey's got a gun.
Yeah, definitely 2 parts that stuck out to me inside of the whole like session, like the last 2 sessions specifically, I guess, was like the ability to have an automatic success, which is something that the novelist gets. Being able to take a scar to be able to do that, and sacrificing that memory, and being able to have that opportunity to have a big moment, and apparently making things harder doing it and doing so, but not knowing at the time, So that was definitely one part, and I really enjoyed having to go through the emotions of trying to figure out if Annie's actually with or against him. So I really enjoyed that.
You did the whole automatic success thing so well too. I thought that was well done. Instead of just being like, oh, I'm gonna take this right out the gate and I'm gonna get 3 scars, and what happens in the end happens in the end. Mm-hmm. Which I mean you could easily do, because I think it's like you can use it once per assignment, I think is how I've set it up. But you played it so well. I don't even think you took it till like after the last circle advancement. And then like using it for the moment you did, I don't know, made that moment stand out so much more to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing it the way you did was just like the coolest. And it's again like the whole like, you as Tim have a personality, but then like
I guess so.
Whenever any of us play another character, we like put some of our personality in there, but then like we also like give them their own personality. And you did so well at doing that, and it was just like cool to just the whole thing was cool to watch from a GM standpoint. What did you hate about the Novelist?
Ooh. Not being able to fight really stunk, you know? Like, especially like in the first 2 sessions, it felt like all we were doing was just fighting, and it was like I couldn't help anyway because my character is solely like role play based, kind of like a bard. You know, Bart's is support, but he doesn't really do any damage unless you take certain subclasses. Then he's ridiculous. But
yes.
But like, you know, like your whole job is to be there and to do your part, and whenever that part can't really be done, it's kind of like, okay, I'm kind of just sitting here. I don't really. I'm trying to get creative with what I can actually do. So like that, and like whenever the beast came out in the mansion or whatever,
yeah,
and I was just like, I have no moves. I can't do anything here. But then at the end, whenever we were starting to get more points and stuff from leveling up, and I got the gun, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to be able to actually do something here, you know? And so that was nice. But at the beginning, it felt very hard. And again, that was my whole thing of like being cunning, right? I was not scared, but it was so much of like, I don't really care about this. Like, I just like, if somebody else gets hurt, that's fine. But me, I can't get hurt, you know?
Right.
And I tried to portray that pretty well with
you did.
Like the scar. Like everybody else was taking scars throughout the whole thing except for maybe
Carver avoided it at the very beginning, which was amazing how that ended up happening because he was totally getting a scar and he was like, nope.
Yes. The Buckingham, I don't think he got one until the very end either.
No, he took one at the beginning because he got a bleed mark and it was boils, and then like he really got hit hard during the last one for sure.
Yeah. But, like, Joe Monkey had, like... I remember people, like, at the end, whenever we were doing our advancements and stuff, like, everybody was taking, like, the heals or whatever, like, getting rid of bleed marks and stuff. It was like, I didn't really have to do that because I just stayed in the back and I didn't really do anything until, you know, Atmos was like, all right, you're going to die now. And he stabbed me. But, like, which was so great with the automatic success and taking a scar because it was like, I could actually use this now because I have something that I can, like, I played my character to where I hadn't taken scars before, but now I can actually use those scar marks that other people can't use because they have 2 or 1, and I don't have any. And I can actually sacrifice, you know, some of that for it. So I think it was really, really good to have. So yeah,
I thought it was a cool thing to add in there, and like to see it actually like work because like again, having never played the game and yet creating homebrew classes is kind of sketchy because it's like you don't know anything about the game. Like, what are you doing creating something? And so to see it like work and be like, wow, that was actually kind of fluid.
Yeah,
like, that was nice. And so that made me happy, seeing it from that side. And yeah, like you said, you weren't a fighter, but you did definitely serve the purpose that you were there to serve. And so like that instinct of wanting to be in there, and like the combat thing, that was kind of my fault because I was in such a D&D mode because we were playing so much D&D on top of playing this, and it was like, I'll just throw combat in there.
Yeah.
And like I was like, I'm missing some of the mystery that I wanted, and like trying to figure out how I wanted to get it in there and stuff, and like finding my own way, like as a GM through it all was a little difficult. And so like now that I've got like a groove, I'm looking forward to the next time that I get to GM, but this next time I get to play.
Yeah, and that's. And I will say, I mean, with anything that you do, you know, like practice makes perfect, or you can't really expect yourself to be the best of the best with no experience, right?
Absolutely.
Like you have to slowly make your way up to the top, so that you can have those fantastic groups, and maybe you get a bunch of newbies in there, like you did with this, you know, group. We're all new to it, but part of the fun is learning how to play the new thing that you have no idea what to do with, right?
Oh man, it was a blast.
Oh, I had so much fun. I wish I could have used my my bleed detector more for sure. We all, literally all of us took a bleed detector. So I was like, I don't even know why I have this thing, which was
I think it's a common thing to carry though, like
a
with
bleed detector.
with like the way the game's set up.
Right.
I don't know, like why wouldn't you carry one? Because you're in Candela, so like, wouldn't you need one?
Wouldn't you need one? Right. Right.
But then again, like if like say maybe two of the people take it, you don't. But like, what if you get separated from those two people that you don't? Because like again, like with that GM mindset, like if you're the GM and you know you say you got a group of 5, and 2 take them, but the other 3 don't, like you're gonna like Scooby Doo that thing, like let's split up, gang, and you're gonna make sure that like one of those guys is like not having a bleed detector,
right?
And so doing it that way is a ton of fun. And it it builds, no pun intended, it builds character.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, again, with every group or every, just every group that you have, it's going to be different, right? And we all took bleed detectors, and you're saying, yeah, as like at a fantasy group or being inside that Candela area, why wouldn't you have one? But somebody might be new to town, or they know about it, but they're not like completely convinced about it, because you can see in certain times in the campaign, like Albert was trying to explain it to somebody. He's like, that guy's crazy. He needs to go to some kind of like.
He's acting bizarre.
Yeah, like it's like not everybody believes that it's there, so the people that do have it would have to have a reason for it, and for. At least for Joe Monkey, the reason he had it was because, the missing person in his life is like,
right.
It could literally be anything. And as a researcher, a novelist who has done research in the past, he'll take anything at its word, like this could be it. I don't know. We're going to take it just in case type 100%. Thing. And so that was the reason I had it. But yeah, splitting up, D&D is fashioned me to be like, we're not splitting up, because then one group finds 25 trolls that they can't beat, and right. It's like okay, I guess I'm just dead because there's nothing I can do about it, or I just run away like this, just trying to get away from everything. Which
we had a runner in the group in James Buckingham, and that made things so much fun, because he's like, I'm gonna
go get my car, and I'll pick up a bagel while I'm at it, and I'll see you all later.
Yeah, that's lunch.
Yeah, that's lunch right there. Yeah, no. I think it's great to have different personalities, and especially with Buckingham, I'd never played anything with him before, and to see him play his character like that was just like kind of bewildering, but also hilarious at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
like all the stuff about food is like,
yeah.
What?
That's what you're guys. I have too much to live for. I know you're old, but I'm like in my 20s. I gotta go.
The picture part. This is gonna segue into the next question. I think the picture part in session 2 with Atmos was probably my favorite. Like, can I grab him and like take a picture? Mm-hmm. Like that was so good. So, what was your favorite part?
Ooh. I kind of already mentioned the train part. I've always been a sucker for, and you didn't really do this with this, but like kind of jumping straight into the action and then kind of backing up like 3 weeks earlier or something like that, like the morning before or something like that.
Had I had time, I would have.
Yeah, like I love those types because it's like you have something to be excited about as it comes up. So like with like the train part, like how did we get on the train? Why are we there? Stuff like that, like, or we start the session, or like we're on the train and then we're starting the session getting on to the train. So then it's like, how did he get up on the roof? Why is he up on the roof? Who's he getting chased by? It's just like a bunch of different questions that roll through your mind and that you want answered as soon as possible. But like also it's fun to kind of unravel it like a scroll, like slowly showing everything that's going, But I really liked the train. I really like Atmos was pretty funny.
Everyone knife.
Yes, I really liked going to the very beginning when we went to the theater and we were questioning everybody.
I'm gonna talk to the girlfriend again.
Yeah. It's like we kept talking to people that we've already talked to before. It's like, why are we talking to them again? Like, and that was the detective type style that I was hoping for that would happen inside of this. It's like, okay, I was taking so many notes, like, okay, what is he trying to get around to me? Like, okay, so 38 steps to the back door, and it's like why am I doing this? But I love that little stuff, like just trying to figure out the intricacies of different like mysteries and stuff like that. So
I definitely like, my plan was to do more of that, and then like the wheels fell off almost immediately.
Yes.
But then like I feel like we got some of it back in the
Uh-huh.
last couple of sessions.
Yeah.
But we were building to what was such huge moments for the last, I guess you could call it 3 sessions, because you got session 4, 1, and 2.
Uh-huh.
But like we were building to such big moments with those that like we couldn't slow down in certain points to
Right.
like do some of that really cool investigating, because it was unraveling so quickly,
right.
and we were getting like these crazy things, and so that was so much fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd definitely be at some point doing it again, you know, because I think that it's something that you can kind of like slip in for a little while, you know, because I mean we played 4 sessions and it's pretty short, but you play something like D&D where it takes a long time, so it's not much of as a time commitment.
We're a year in on a 3-year campaign for our D&D.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, something. Maybe you could play it a week that you're all gone or something. I don't know. Like you could just do something. Like it's just 4 sessions. It's not too hard. It's not a time crunch at all. I mean, for us, it was kind of a time crunch in a certain part, but that was just because everybody was busy. You know.
October was insane.
Yes.
And so we went from having like a nice, cool, calm, chill, like leisurely session 3 to, oh, basically we have a massive session 4, and we're time constrained because we're part of a Comic-Con.
Yes.
And yeah, it got crazy.
Like the train, we were going really fast.
We were.
So.
To wrap this up, if you were, or when you play again, what class do you think you would play?
Man. Oh, it's such a hard question because I haven't really looked at any of the other ones. I was just so enamored with my homebrew. I hear the word homebrew and I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing that, because it's just like homebrew is homemade. Nobody else knows what it does. And if they do, they don't have a really good idea, and you can make it your own. It's just like, and especially with the Novelist, it being the first time it's ever been played or used, it's like, yeah, we're doing something new with this. This is going to be great.
Well,
but
I came up with something for the other class. So you have creative, which is novelist and musician. For the other class, you have it's called industry, and so you have mechanic, and then I wanted to go like way 180 and have it be like more like educated guy, and it'd be an architect. And so for the architect, I was like, well, hang on 1 second, because like you could do something really cool. And so I built a thing into the architect class that is really cool. It's called ley lines, because you know, like they all have like the short little things, like it's in your head and well read and all that.
Yeah.
And so for architect, it's called ley lines, and basically you forego taking 2 architect specialties, but in a sense you get 3 abilities. Like you forego taking 2 from that bottom section for your architect by taking ley lines. You still get 1 other one from yours, but essentially this one's almost null and void because it doesn't do anything other than give you the ability to take one from the weird section. So you can take an ability from a weird, from a weird, but you can either take it from an occultist or you can take it from a what's the other one? Not magician, because that magician's a slink. Occultist, or what is the other one? No, detective's not a weird. I can't think of what the other one is. I knew it last night whenever I was doing it.
It was what's it, like some kind of? It's not a hobo, but what is it, like not
a thief? I think that's the other one on slink, because you got.
Yeah, I knew there was thief. I thought there was a cultist, and then there was like some kind of like, not homeless dude. I don't remember what it was though. I keep thinking homeless, but I know that's not right.
Let's see.
I guess we'll just look it up.
Yeah, we're gonna look it up. Classes for Candela. I guess I need to put Obscura because it's giving me other stuff.
Yeah. Because I remember there was like a psycho class.
Okay.
Or something like that. But.
So weird is medium and occultist. So
medium?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
So a medium would be like, I see dead people. So like I could have technically played Bray as a medium, but I definitely felt like the occultist fit him better, like with doing spells and reading the books and different things. Which, yeah, that was very much a tribute to like that character. I wanted to do something like Jack the Ripper-esque because of like the time period, and so like I was able to get some of that in there. But then, that just reminded me. My wife cleaned off my little table, and it had that letter on that table. I hope she didn't throw it away because I was going to use that as a promotional thing. Work's calling. I'll have to call her back here in a minute. But like, it was a tribute to a wrestler that passed away. That's like not much older than myself, and he did really cool work. And it was all very like dark, creepy stuff. And I was like, I want to do kind of like a tribute to him. And so like that's where this character came from, was like rolling Jack the Ripper and that in together. And
I think something that would be cool with like an architect or some kind of class, and I think it's an advancement that you could take. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was you could take one of another class, like a skill of another class.
That's an advancement that you get, and that's where the idea for ley lines came from. But I wanted to like limit it to medium or occultist.
Right.
That is a circle advancement that you can take.
I've always been the type of person that likes like randomizing things. So like rolling, like taking something and then rolling a dice to see which class I can take it from, and then rolling again to see which ability, but I get like 3 abilities with it or something. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Like a hobbyist or something. Someone who just has a bunch of hobbies, so he can take one of each different thing or stuff like that. So you just roll to grab stuff. But
maybe a homebrew for next year.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. With that, Tim, thanks for coming and hanging out. This was only supposed to be a 10-minute video, but here we are, almost 40 minutes in. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. See you next time when we play Novelist Obscura.
Peace!